We continue our discussions on Illinois lawmakers with State Senator Elgie Sims Jr. of Chicago, a Chicago Democrat. He is also the leading budgeteer for the Senate Democrats, and we're a couple of weeks away from the scheduled end of the session. Where do things stand with trying to get this budget hammered out by May 24th?
Well, I think we're on a good path, having discussions about what revenues look like, what the expenditures look like. I think we're on path to adjourn by the 24th, and that's a great place to be.
The governor's budget as submitted was around $52.7 billion back in February. There's more money in there for K through 12 schools, social services, early childhood, higher education. What are the Democratic priorities for this new budget?
Well, it's same priorities they've always been. Protecting our most vulnerable, educating our children, growing our economy, keeping our communities safe. Those are things that making sure we have good jobs in our communities. Those are our priorities, and when we pass a budget, there'll be a reflection of those priorities, but also the priorities that we think will continue Illinois on the sound fiscal footing and on the right path.
There was a memo that came out over last few hours in Springfield from the Deputy Governor, Andy Menard, and it has to do with some revenue enhancements that Governor Pritzker wanted in this budget to be able to do some of the things that he wants to accomplish in fiscal year 25. The letter in effect says if he doesn't get those revenue enhancements, some of the sports book betting increases, things like that, the agency leaders may be looking at an $800 million set of cuts.
Well, I think it's good planning. You know, we know that if you always have to have contingencies A, B, and C. So the governor's proposal was one, making sure that if those revenues as proposed by the governor don't exist, then we have to have another plan. And I think that's really just the other plan. But then it also has to have the reflection of the caucus's priorities, and we'll have to have those discussions too. So I just saw the memo as part of that process, part of the planning process, to make sure as we get ready for the final passage, where we have all the options before us.
Does that give any cause for alarm, though, with it being this close to the scheduled end of the session?
No, none at all. Because as you and I know, Bruce, Jack, there's a long way to go in legislative time. 15 days is a lifetime, so we've really got a lot of time. I think you'll see both the staffs and members working around the clock from here through the end of the session. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
As we look at some other things that have come up in the last few days here, the mayor was here yesterday. The mayor of Chicago was here. He's asking for more money for Chicago schools. I believe that was about $1 billion in new spending. How was the reception given to the mayor this week?
I thought it was good. I met with the mayor. I had some conversations with him. But I think when you look at his request in the context of all requests, everybody has, we have requests from local governments across the state, making sure that they have what they need to be successful. And that's as we pass a budget that reflects those priorities, we want our economy to thrive. We didn't get to $1 trillion in GDP by accident. It took careful planning, and it took sound fiscal stewardship, and that's where we want to continue that.
And it's not as though the revenues are cratering. You just got good reports from the Commission on Governmental Forecasting and Accountability and the Governor's Office of Management and Budget. There is growth, but not as much as we'd seen in recent years.
Well, that's right. You know, and I always say that each budget has its own identity, and the fiscal year 25 budget is no different. It's different than the fiscal 24 budget. It's different than fiscal 23. But you're right. Revenues are not cratering. Our growth is slowing, but we knew that was going to happen. That's why we took those multi-year conservative approaches to budgeting, and we're seeing that pay off. That's why you see our bill backlog at its lowest level it's been in decades. You see our credit rating being upgraded 9 times. That's why you just saw Moody's take our fiscal outlook from stable to positive. You're seeing all those things happen because we are taking the decision and making decisions that are going to have long-term benefit.
Well, we are going to be watching this very carefully over the next 14 days or so here. One last question, about 20 seconds. Any money for the new Bears Stadium?
I have not seen that, but you know, again, we're we want to make sure that we pass a budget that reflects our priorities, that invests in our communities, and we're going to do that.
Senator Elgie Sims Jr., thank you for your time on Illinois Lawmakers.
My pleasure.